I would like to now introduce our next speakers who are going to be coming up. This is a really fun session because we're transitioning from a very technical conversation to something that's not often considered in the context of PLM, the human side of things. And so I'm very excited to have Beatriz and Maria come up and offer a presentation. They come from Share PLM. They are a consultancy. And they have been doing a lot of efforts into researching how humans engage and how to deploy PLM solutions more effectively. And so, welcome to the stage. I will hand this over to you.
Perfect, thank you.
And I will let you go.
Great,
Cheers.
thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be with you here today. First off, I want to thank the organizers for bringing us all together, because what we are going to be speaking about today is absolutely critical to the success of PLM projects. We've all seen it before, PLM implementations that haven't quite gone to plan. Teams resist, adoption is slow, and people don't quite embrace the system the way that we would like them to. And so the kicker is that 70% of digital transformations don't actually achieve their desired objectives. And the thing is, it's not due to the technology itself, it's down to people. So today we're going to look at how we can change this. How can we make PLM implementations successful by focusing on the one thing that actually drives transformation? People. Most PLM initiatives start with the technology, typically forgetting the people involved. Organizations invest heavily in tools and infrastructure, but sometimes overlook the human side of change. And the thing is, when people aren't involved from the beginning, they typically resist these types of changes, and our transformation efforts can stall. So, let's take a look at the reality of digital transformations today. $5.6 trillion. That's how much is being projected to be spent globally on IT in 2025. That's a huge investment. And even with all this spending, only 70% of digital transformations, are compromised, meaning that they don't actually achieve their desired objectives. So looking at that and thinking that only 30% of digital transformations actually achieve their desired results, that's quite a shocking statistic. And so it makes you wonder, if organizations are spending trillions of dollars on their IT projects, why is success so difficult to achieve? We all know that the 3D experience is an extremely powerful tool. It has the potential to completely change the way that we work. But the reality is, technology alone doesn't drive success. People do. Companies that invest in change management and user adoption are 6 times more likely to succeed. And the big shift is, when we do invest in the people who are impacted by these systems and new technologies, the rate of organizations that don't meet their objectives falls from 70% to just 16%, meaning that instead of 30% of organizations actually meeting their goals, this number changes to 84%. So, this is why we're here today. As part of the Innovia user community, we know that when real transformation happens, when we bring people on board, we empower them and we motivate them to make the most of the tools available. In other words, when change isn't planned carefully, people will inevitably resist. Oh, we'll put that there. And when that happens, even the best technology can't succeed. Okay, so before we dive deeper, let's meet the key players in how we process change. Our brain is constantly making decisions, processing information, and determining how we should respond to change. But here's the interesting part. Our brain is actually made up of 2 distinct modes of operation. One is instinctual and emotional, and the other is logical and analytical. Let's take a closer look. So, first meets the gator brain, our survival mechanism. It's fast, reactive, and deeply emotional. The gator brain is designed to keep us safe and avoid unnecessary efforts. It thrives on habits and resists anything that feels uncertain. When confronted with change, the gator brain normally instills a sense of resistance within us. Okay, now let's meet the judge brain. This is the part of our brain that evaluates, rationalizes, and makes thoughtful decisions. The judge brain asks questions, weighs pros and cons, and plans for the future. Unlike the gator brain, however, it takes effort and energy to activate. What I would like to do now is a quick exercise to show you how these two parts of our brain work in real time. On the screen, you can see a series of words. And what I would like you to do is read these words aloud as quickly as possible. And when you are done, put your hand in the air. Off you go. Keep your hand raised once you're done. Perfect. Great, almost at the same time. So now what I would like you to do is I would like you to read the colors of the words. And again, once you are done, put your hand in the air. Sometimes. Still waiting for a few people. Okay, not so easy, right, the second time around. So as you could probably tell, the first time around, your gator brain was in full effect. You were reading the words effortlessly, and it was very fast. However, when I asked you to read the colors, your judge brain had to step in, slowing you down. So now that you have experienced the two modes, or the two different modes of operations of our brain, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about them. So, when faced with change, the gator brain takes over by default. This means people will act fast without thinking, they will follow emotions over logic, take shortcuts, avoid changes and risks, and react to rewards and punishments. This explains why people resist new PLM systems. They're comfortable with their old ways of working, and they don't want to change. The judge brain, on the other hand, is slower but more effective in processing change. And so when it is activated, it thinks slowly and carefully. It questions and checks for facts. It controls impulses. It learns new things, and it thinks about the future. However, the truth is, the gator brain is responsible for 95% of the decisions that we make. That means that if we don't address it, no amount of logical reasoning can convince people to change. And this is why PLM transformations, when they only focus on the system, the technology, the tools, and the processes, and forget about the people, they face issues. So, when change is introduced, the gator brain responds in 3 ways. It doesn't get it doesn't like it, or, very often, it doesn't like you. This is why just explaining a PLM system isn't enough. We have to go deeper, and we have to understand how people process change. So, when our gator brain doesn't get it, how does it react? So at this level of resistance, this comes from a lack of understanding. When people don't get it, they may say things such as, "Why do I need to change how I work? The old way is working perfectly fine." Or, "This information is already in Excel. Why do I need to put it in a new system?" And this happens when change isn't effectively communicated. If people don't understand the reason behind the change, they will resist. Next, when our gator brain doesn't like something, this resistance comes from an emotional level. It makes you feel overwhelmed, uncomfortable, or even threatened by the new changes that are coming. Some common responses may be, "I don't have time for this, what is the purpose?" Or, "This new system is so slow and so ugly." And this is why user experience and emotional support are critical in change management. If people find the system frustrating, they won't use it. And lastly, what do we do when our gator brain doesn't like us, or doesn't like you for implementing the change? So this type of resistance is very personal. People question the motives behind the reason we are implementing this new system or experiencing this digital transformation. And they fear that their voices and their opinions aren't being heard. You might hear people saying things like, "Why should I care about your new system?" Or, "This is just another top-down mandate." And this is why trust and involvement are crucial when it comes to PLM implementation projects. People need to feel like they are part of the change and are along with the journey. So now that we understand why people resist change, let's start to talk a little bit about how we can enable transformation. Imagine change as a house. For it to stand strong, it needs a solid foundation, supporting pillars, and a clear vision. Everything starts with crafting a clear vision when it comes to PLM implementation projects. We need to ensure that we have a shared vision that can align an organization and all of the people who are going to be impacted by the change. Next, we need to have a baseline understanding of people's needs, requirements, gaps in knowledge, or concerns. When we do this, people feel like their opinions are taken on board and that they are involved in the process. And finally, we need to create strong learning opportunities, immersive experience, and connections to reinforce change. This structure ensures that change isn't just an initiative, but a sustainable human-centered transformation. But now, let's take a look at some practical strategies with Beatriz.
Yes, thank you, Maria. Now, let's see how to conquer the gator brain. Here comes the interesting part. So, we will go through 5 tips to get people on board. What do we need to do? So the first one is help them get it. So imagine that you are asked to change to a new system without understanding the why. For example, you arrive one day at your desk and you receive some email that you are going to start using the CPQ for sales and engineering to improve the streamlined process. Suddenly, I need to use it. Why? It seems like another corporate mandate. It seems confusing, even frustrating. So when people don't understand the reason of the change, resistance is natural, right? So this is the first tip. We need to make sure that people truly understand the why. We need to focus on creating a vision and narrative that connect with people's concerns and aspirations. And how can we do that? Here you can see some examples, but there are 3 basic things that we need to consider when doing it. First, using clear language that connects with the people and resonates with them. Avoid trying to use so many technical terms. Second, try to use and leverage storytelling, use real stories. Here, there are a lot of people, some of you are more advanced in the transformation, try to use the stories from other companies to support your vision. And third one, if possible, use graphics and visuals that can enhance understanding and retention along your way. This is the first one. But it's not only understanding. Imagine that now you need to use the CPQ, these sales quotes. And you start using the system, but the onboarding is difficult, it's unclear. So you feel kind of lost, and even if you understand the why, you see, okay, I resist again, so I don't want to use this. So next tip is making an onboarding easy and engaging. People need to feel capable and comfortable of using the system from day one. And for that, there are 3 basic things. The first one is combining using blended learning, trying to combine visuals, images, also using tests, text, hand-on exercises. So in this way, you support the different learning ways of your people. Second one is always trying to balance self-paced learning with in-person training. So giving people the time to learn at their own pace, and then providing these spaces where they can go and ask questions, it's going to help for their onboarding. And third one, of course, trying to adapt all your training assets to your roles and your processes, not try to show everything what's in the system. So if people feel confident of using the system, they will be empowered of using it efficiently, and they won't resist at this point. Next tip. So now you understand the system and you know the basics on how to use it. But then you arrive one day and you need to start and continue doing your job. How should I use this system for my daily routines, for collaborating with my teams? No one has told you exactly how to do it, right? So this is why it's important to have a strong communication strategy and a structured plan, that people know what's happening and why and how it's impacting them. To define a communication strategy, it's mainly identifying the audience, audience key messages, frequencies, and key channels, and also providing a hub that can be SharePoint or can be even the platform, the 3DXperience platform, to support them. So people will feel informed and reassured, and they will want to participate in the change. So, but change is not only about telling people what to do. It's about listening to them. Imagine that you now you have agreed with your team how to work, how to use the system, and you have some ideas, some best practices, or even requirements that you would like to communicate with someone. No one has asked you. So you are expected to adapt, but you don't feel included. That's why we need to create opportunities for feedback and real conversation, and make people connect. For that, we can, for example, organize roundtables where we collect feedback, we listen to their concerns, we strengthen relationships. And also, we know that not every culture feels comfortable speaking up in group settings, right? So we need to enable also anonymous feedback channels like surveys and interviews, etc. So this way, people will feel heard, valued, and they will even want to take ownership of the change, what leads us to the last tip. That is, help them own it. So having a strong governance with clearly refined roles and responsibilities is helping people to engage with the change. So they won't feel lost. They won't feel disconnected. So if we make them own the change, the transformation will become a shared responsibility and not a top-down approach. So that was our 5 tips. Here, summary, so you remember what to do. First one, remember, we need to make sure that they understand the why by using emotional and simple language. Second, making their onboarding easy and engaging. Third one, trust is crucial. So people need to be confident in the process and confident in the people leading it. So a strong communication strategy and a plan to keep them informed. 4, provide channels to receive their input so they can feel heard and included, and they can finally take ownership of the change, and it's a shared responsibility.
Thank you, Bea. So yes, so at the end of the day, people drive digital transformations. However, it's their gator brains that make the decisions. So no matter how comprehensive our implementation strategy is, if we don't address instinctive resistance, adoption will fail. Our role is to guide people through the process in a way in which we engage both their rational and emotional minds. Thank you.
So thank you so much. It's a wonderful presentation because I think all the digital transformations that we're talking about actually have a human transformation that is connected with them. And so I think this is very important. We do have just a second, so I wanted to see if there were any questions for Beatriz or Maria while we're up on the stage. They will still be here walking around, and I will let you know that they've completed several PLM transformations in the past. And so they have tangible references that they can talk to, but just remember, it's about gators and bees. We brought it all together. Any questions real fast, or we can move on to the next session? Then we will do that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.